This is Ben Reppond. Welcome to my broadcast, my YouTube broadcast. Today is the 6th of May, 2025. You will recognize that I am not in my Montana home this time. It looks like I'm in a hotel room, which I am, and let me explain. I am attending the uh, annual conference for the National Association of Active Investment Managers, name, organization. Some of you know of them, and I'll be here most of the week. And so that's going on right now. So that's where I'm doing the broadcast from. So I don't have the benefit of the microphone and the lighting and the um, camera and so forth that I normally do. So but anyway, I do have a broadcast for you, and I do have some things to talk about. My name is Ben Reppond. Welcome to my YouTube broadcast, and we will jump right into it. Today, I want to cover the interview that Julia LaRoche does with Dr. Lacey Hunt, and some of you know him. He's a macroeconomist and been around for a long time, very credible. A lot of people seek him out for his opinions, and he's thoughtful. So I'm going to play about 9 minutes of that interview. It's a much longer interview, but the portion I think that is the most important, so I can try to condense it down for you. So I'll do that, and then I want to cover. I've got a lot of economic data I want to report on for you to go over job openings, unemployment, uh, wages, um, inflation, variety of things that I have current reports on as of this morning. So um, I think it'll be helpful to you. And and the way I see it is it's going to be a mixed bag. You're going to find some things that are doing well or adequate, and then you'll find some things that are not doing well. I'll report on both. I try to present things so that I don't have a bias. And in this area, I don't really have a bias. So if it's positive, I'm going to report it and vice versa. So let's begin with Dr. Hunt. This is a video or a interview that Julia LaRoche did with him, and she's trying to get his take on what's going on, excuse me, in the economy. And again, he gives both sides. He says, here's the things that are going well. What's surprising to me, I didn't understand this, that after the tariffs were announced, the economy got a boost, a very nice boost, because what was happening was that people were going out and spending. They were anticipating price increases, and they went ahead and made purchases that they were going to make in the future before the price increases hit. That makes total sense to me. So positive for the economy during the first quarter, or some portion of it as far as spending goes. However, what is happening now is people have burned through that and accumulated what they wanted to accumulate. Now they're not shopping as much, buying as much, so our firms are accumulating inventory, according to Dr. Hunt, um, and that the economy is frail, his word, a frail condition, and there are much fewer job openings than there have been. That number, I think he gave a number, I think it dropped about in half, percentage-wise. Um, so, yeah, wages, inventory, jobs, currently, after this surge occurred in the first quarter, are starting to weaken. So, anyway, take a listen to this interview, and then I'll begin go into my economic reports.
Dr. Lacey Hunt, award-winning economist, Chief Economist at Hoisington Investment Management, an absolute legend and a friend of this show, and someone we always look forward to talking to. It is so wonderful to welcome you back to the show and great to see you, Dr. Hunt. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
My pleasure, Julie. Nice to see you as well.
Always nice to see you. And Dr. Hunt, we are recording on Friday, May 2nd, Jobs Day. We had quite a bit of economic data come out this week. I know your Q1 letter came out recently. A lot of folks have been talking about it on social media. And gosh, the last time we had you, Dr. Hunt, would have been in August, right after we got the huge downward revision for the jobs number. So it's been a while. A lot has happened. And a lot, again, I mentioned a lot of folks are talking about your letter and these kind of five forces at play in the economy. And I would love to talk about that. But let's just start where we always start with you. And since you are a macroeconomist, let's start with that big picture, that macro view, where we are today, your outlook. And as you know, Dr. Hunt, you can take all the time you need to set the table.
Okay. Well, right now we're in something of an interregnum in a variety of different respects. First of all, tariffs have been imposed by the United States unilaterally on others, and there's been a round of retaliations, which is to be expected in such situations, especially when global economic activity is as poor as it currently is. This was the pattern in the 1920s and 1930s. Ironically, the announcement of the tariffs has given the economy a boost in important ways. A lot of firms went out and ordered a lot of product from the rest of the world. Our imports had an unprecedented surge in the first quarter. And that means that things like GDP and employment around the world were actually helped initially by the tariffs. And the announcement of tariffs caused consumers who are really in very poor financial shape, I would say wretched financial shape, actually, they went out and they did a lot of buying in advance to protect themselves against the potential future price increases. We saw this in automobiles quite significantly. Huge surge in automobile spending started in the second half of April, carried over into the first half of, it started in the second half of March, carried over into the first half of April. We have anecdotal reports of it occurring in other areas, including iPhones. And there may have been in other items that were less widely followed that also benefited from this. And so when firms see a surge in the demand, they're going to have more folks on hand in terms of employment to handle it. But that surge in demand that benefited the world and also components of the U.S. economy, that's going to go away. And so we're not going to have any data on that for a while. And so that leaves economists sort of in limbo. We've had an event. We've seen certain repercussions. One of the things that I think may have been overlooked is that while imports were surging and this benefit flowing to the rest of the world, the U.S. economy did accumulate a very substantial amount of inventory in the first quarter. And now firms have to move that inventory. And we'll see whether the consumer in a very emaciated state is in a position to do that. Another way in which we're in an interregnum is that we're experiencing a very significant drop in currently, and for this current fiscal year 2025, in federal spending. Now, part of the reason for the drop is that there was spending had a wild increase from October through January. And naturally, that kind of increase isn't going to be sustained. But more importantly, the budget that was enacted for 2025 um, is indicating that the increase in federal spending for the final 6 months of the current fiscal year, which started on the first of this month, the first of last month, 1st of April, is going to be basically flat. So we're going from a massive federal stimulus to a zero federal stimulus on the spending side, a decline in real terms. And we don't have an offset in terms of where we're going with regard to federal taxes. And so we have to sort of deal with two interregnums, one related to the tariff, another related to fiscal policy. And so it's very difficult to look through all of this noise. But I think when one does, we find that the economy is in a much more frail condition than is generally understood. And I would cite two hard indicators of that. Number one is the ratio of job openings to unemployed, known as the Beveridge ratio, and it is dropped very precipitously from the peak levels. But more importantly, it's below where we were prior to the pandemic, and this is an indication that the labor markets are tightening more significantly than is generally understood. Another hard indicator is what's happening to the rate of increase in average hourly earnings. You can measure economic activity or the strength of economic demand by quantity measures, or you can measure them by price measures. Well, wages is a price measure. And here, the evidence is entirely unequivocally weak. And we saw this weakness in April. We had only a 0.2 rise in average hourly earnings. Now, 1 month doesn't is never to be overestimated, but we have to remember at the peak, the year-over-year increase in early 2022 in average hourly earnings was 6%. And now in the latest 12 months, we're down to 3.75%. And that to me is an interesting, a significant development and indicative of the fact that the labor markets are much weaker than people generally believe.
Okay, I'm going to begin with payrolls. I got this data this morning. However, this is through the month of April, so it's as current as I can get my hands on. What this shows is that the expected payroll was month over month 138,000. However, it came in at 177,000, so better than expected. And you can see the red bar on the far right of this chart. This shows a month by month number. And yeah, it's down when you go all the way back to 2023, or excuse me, 2021. In a macro sense, it's dropping. But compared to the last few months, it's hanging in there. This shows kind of by sector what is going on with payrolls. The strongest area is healthcare, um, et cetera, certain areas. What was interesting to me, but healthcare was way out in front, is the last one. The bottom one is the federal government, and it is negative. So layoffs in the federal government area. Of course, if you follow the news, you understand that. What was interesting is if you go back over the past few years, this was number one. It was at the top of the list, and now it's at the bottom of the list. The unemployment rate, you see the big spike in the middle. What that was COVID, and so unemployment spiked crazy high during that very short period of time. And then as people, got hired and went back to work and so forth, that it came down very quickly. Came down over 2020 and 2021. Since 2022, it has gradually been going up in that kind of way. So it's improving, and so, or I shouldn't say it's improving. It's not improving. It's unemployment is actually going up. Next is the U.S. Average hourly earnings month over month. That has been dropping, and this is an area that Dr. Hunt pointed out is a problem. Not only are wages not keeping up, but with let's say inflation, cost of goods, but when you apply in make it a real number adjusted for inflation, wages are undoubtedly negative or moving in a negative direction. So the buying power of the dollar and the wages that people are earning are, well, it's negative. So it has an effect on the economy. It has an effect on people's spending, people pulling back, etc. Um, there, this is a survey. So the Americans' outlook. This is a Gallup poll. Americans' outlook for finding a quality job, and you can see over time how that has gone up and down. And the blue line you can see is clearly their outlook, their perception is that they will not be able to find a quality job. And this is reports on the container ships that are coming from China. So this has gone up and down, but the most current report you can see is clearly the number of ships or the tonnage is in a downward direction at the very far right of the chart. Um, this as the biggest impact on imports is from China, and that shows a negative effect at the very far right of the chart. And the green um, bars to the right, so the China is over to the left of the chart. To the far right are the countries that are benefiting from this. And so you can see that, a lot of Asian nations, Canada, um, and Mexico, there's others that are in the last two bars, countries like Brunei and Philippines and Thailand, um, and I think India's in that group. They are um, they are benefiting. So the while China is the imports coming from China are negative, other countries are pulling up, that slack. This is the home prices. Home prices are hanging in there. The red bar to the very far right shows that they are continuing to rise. This is month over month data. So 0.4% for a month, that's quite a bit. Holding in there with where it's been for the past several months. So not seeing a big drop in um, home prices. This compares home prices to the previous year. So the light blue is the previous year, and then the kind of orange color is the most current 12-month period. So it's measuring the last 12 months compared to the previous 12-month period. So that the far left set of bars is the national, um, I should say the national average. They go into regions when you go to the right. Some regions are doing better than others, but in all cases, the previous 12 months is stronger than the last 12 months. This chart compares the increase in wages to the average home price, the home price for those that are buying homes. So the ones who are buying homes apparently have money, but wages are not keeping up. So that's going to probably squeeze out a lot of people. Big differential, and that differential is getting greater. The dollar, you can see, has been declining. So that makes it the dollar basically the buying power of the dollar is declining. So the um, people are able to buy less with the money that they have. And then finally, bonds. The bond yield has been going up over time. So this shows about a 5-year period, or excuse me, about a 3-year period. So as the yields go up, bond prices fall, and this has an impact on portfolios, but that rely on bonds for a cushion against the decline in equities. So again, bonds are going in the wrong direction when you look at it from that perspective. Okay, that's what I've got for you. Hope this was helpful. And if you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below.